Hey, yo, it's Guido. Welcome back. We are going to do a survey right here. So I logged in and I found this survey, and I talk about the surveys a lot that Wargaming gives. And I reference the questions, but I never really write them down or am able to actually remember exactly what they are. So let's go through these. I got two things for this video. We're going to go through this survey real time right now, and then I'm going to go over to the medium rebalance because I think there's some interesting things there. So let's see. We've got the survey here. The first one is, thank you. We will not share these. Well, there you go. I guess I'm sharing them. How often have you played World of Tanks recently? Let's see. Well, that's every day for me. All right, so that's fair enough. They want to know how much you played. We'll see if the survey just ends. All right, we don't want to talk to you anymore. How do you evaluate the time you have been spending on World of Tanks recently? As much time on the game as I want to, less time than I would want to, more time than I would want to. What? See, it didn't take long before we got into these kind of questions. What on earth does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Exactly. Then I want to, as in, well, I'm pretty busy in life, but I can't spend as much time as I want to. I don't really know what's Wargaming going to do about that exactly. Is this alluding to the games? I want to like the game, so I want to spend more time, but I don't. I mean, what is the point of this question? What a strange question. As much as I want to, less than I would want to, more than I would want to. What does that even mean? All right, we're just gonna go. I play as much as I want to. I'm an adult, and when I want to, I play, and when I have stuff to do and don't want to, I don't play. I don't know what you want, man. And it's not even I don't know what you want. I don't understand the question. To what extent are you clearly satisfied with the World of Tanks? All right, fair enough. Scale of 1 to 10, where 1 means of extremely dissatisfied. To what extent are you currently satisfied with the world in general? Oh, yeah, man. In general? I like hard to say. Okay. In general, yeah, sure. I play a lot, don't I? So in general. What else we got here? How would you rate the excitement from World of Tanks as compared to other online games you have heard about and or played? Rate the excitement. Excitement. I don't know, 7? I mean, that's also a strange question. The excitement. Rate the extent to which changes recently introduced to World of Tanks meet your expectations. Let's see. Recently introduced. Man, that's a lot of changes, man. I mean, what's the relationship here? From 2 years ago, from the last 5 months, the last change you did, I don't know. I think they have exceeded my expectation. I'm gonna interpolate this to mean the last few things they've done, where they seem to be making an actual effort. So I'm gonna call that about a 6, only because it's trending the way I like, but there's a lot of history of changes that have been not good. Or I think more specifically, and this is interesting because you can parse this question out, can't you? Because there's the question of changes they haven't done that they've needed to and ignored, and there's the question of the actual changes they've done and have they met my expectations. Well, and maybe I'll have a question about that later, but because it's not specific enough a question about what changes they're talking about, it's open to this kind of interpretation. This is why I get on these polls and these questions. How would you rate World of Tanks by the following characteristics associated with gameplay in general? Complexity of succeeding in the game. I think that is I'm going to put a 9. That's self-serving. I think it's probably an 8, but I'm going to call it a 9 because I'm a good player and I'm going to make it sound like it's harder than it should be, right? Team creation according to the tier and type of vehicle. What? World of Tanks by the following characteristics associated with gameplay in general. Rate World of Tanks. Team creation according to the tier and type of vehicles. Oh, okay. So whether I'm satisfied with matchmaker. Why does it not say matchmaker? Team creation according to the tier and type of vehicles. I think they mean matchmaker. How? Well, all right. So that goes back to the question before, where we've just had a recent change, and it is way, way, way too early for anyone to make any generalizations, really, about whether it's better or not. I think anecdotally it feels like it's better, but I don't know if there's any secondary or tertiary things that are going to come out of this. So that one's hard to say, but I'm gonna rank it. I'm gonna be generally positive because I like where it's going, but I'm also not jazzed that they put the template system in to begin with. this this next one, all I had to do was see the first word of this next one, and I started laughing. It's ridiculous. What does that mean? Diversity of the game. That's got to be hard to say. I have no idea what you mean. I seriously. Okay. No coffee, by the way, today. It's going to be water. Clearness of the main game elements and their function. The systems for concealment and spotting vehicles, crew training, etc. That is a large amount of game mechanics. How am I generally satisfied with everything the game does? What is etc.? Is it RNG? Does it also include matchmaker above? Okay, so these are throwaway questions. There's not a single question here, except maybe complexity, but even that one. There's not a single question here that you can draw a single hard fact out of about anything. I don't know. The clearness of the main game elements. And then they list some, and then there's etc., but they've named them the main game elements. So which ones are main and which one are secondary? It's hard to say. Clearness. To me, as a player that's been around 7 years, they're relatively clear. To a brand new player, they're going to be down here. Right? So is this going to be broken out via the number of battles players have? I don't know. Those are background things they can do with the data. They didn't ask me any of those questions. I assume they know that because this is me answering it and they have my stats and numbers. But still, those answers are going to be completely all over the place. And I hate to give a hard to say here, but clearness of the main guy is 7. You know what? I'm giving you... I'm gonna give you hard to. You know, I'm going to hard to say. I'm just going to hard to say. I wish there was one that says question is ridiculous. So, I hate to goober up their data, but that question was terrible. All right, here we go. How would you rate Roll the Tanks by the following characteristics associated with vehicles and maps? You know, going back to the question building itself, it makes me wonder if the people that made these questions even play the game. Balance of the roles. Oh boy. Balance of the roles of various vehicle types. Balance of the roles. Well, what are the roles of the various vehicle types? Clearly, the developers have a certain idea. Players play them in certain ways that may or may not have anything to do with what the developers think the role is. Balance of the role. The balance. Good Lord, I don't even know where to start with this one. Balance of the roles. I can't even answer it. I have no idea. Frequency of the same maps appearing in random battles. Okay, that is a specific question. Fantastic. What, am I satisfied with the amount of times I see the same maps? Now, there's no time frame, but I get this question. How am I satisfied or dissatisfied? I'm pretty satisfied. I don't see too many of the same maps anymore. I'm gonna give that an 8. They recently changed that, and that's actually not bad. Map diversity in terms of the possibility for different battle tactics. That is better than for different class or roles or whatever. I like that for different battle tactics. Okay. So cities for kind of city brawling and open maps for the vision control thing. Mixed maps to kind of do a little bit of both. Okay, fair enough. I'm pretty satisfied with that. That's actually not bad. I could use some more. Map control maps with a little more view range kind of thing. A lot of the maps they took out along the way. And frankly, I could use a couple more city brawling maps that they got rid of. And I could use less of the funnel maps. But the diversity of those 3 basic kinds is actually not bad. All right. Available of a sufficient number of vehicles worth the effort to research purchase. Okay, Wargaming, come on, guys. All right, so tech trees, as in research it and purchase it with credit, or tech tree, as in research tech tree and purchase, as in purchase premiums. What is this? What's going on here? I don't understand the question, because sufficient number of vehicles worth the effort of your tech tree. I personally think they're all worth the effort because I'm interested in the game. I want to play them all. Worth the effort in terms of, are they good and can they stand up against other tech tree tanks, or even worse than that, for tech trees versus premium, are they worth the effort to play against premium tanks? Well, that's a different story altogether. That's a different story. So I don't understand the question. Availability of sufficient number of vehicles. What's worth the effort? You know, are you a collector? Are you someone who wants to min max and you only want the best tanks? Worth the effort to research and purchase. So really what I'm doing in my mind is I'm thinking, all right, am I going to answer this as tech tree tanks, worth the effort to research, because that fits the tech tree piece. And then the purchase part, am I going to say, okay, that means buying for silver tech tree tanks, or am I going to say this is an all-encompassing tech tree and premium tank question? I don't know. There's no more information. Now, I can key on sufficient number. There are a metric crap ton of tanks in this game, so I'm going to say 7. 7, I would say probably 9 for the amount of tanks. Just the sheer content is fantastic. I will lay that out right now. I love it. I think it's awesome. This question is ridiculous, so I'm going to say 7 because I don't know what you're getting at. And again, it's not a matter of wanting to get the right answer for them. It's understanding the question so that I can answer it correctly in terms of what it is, what area they're attempting to measure. How would you rate World of Tanks for the following characteristics associated with the game's performance? Okay, these should be fairly specific, right? We're talking about the performance, I'm assuming, with your hardware and their software. Stable function of the game client, absence of spontaneity. I do really well with this. I almost have zero problem with this. So I'm not worried about that. That's good for me. Unfortunately, there's a lot of background information there about what rig you're running, however, what you're trying to do with it. Are you overclocking? I mean, the questions it just goes on forever. But this may be one of those areas where you can generalize a little bit and go, okay, how well in general is my game doing with the hardware and with the hardware out there? Stable connection to game servers. I have almost no problem with this. If it's a massive crash and everyone goes down, then I do too. So I'm not worried about that, so to speak. Wow. But as far as frequently having issues with their servers, no. Smooth and uninterrupted picture, absence of hangups, lag, or freezes. Again, this goes back. My rig is good, and I don't have issues with any of that stuff, really. All right, how would you rate World of Tanks by the following characteristics associated with the recent game updates? Which ones? From where? From when? Changes to maps. No, bad. Not good, not satisfied. Really made some maps worse, by the way. A couple better, but mostly worse. Changes to vehicle characteristics. In general, yes, I think you're going in the right directions with most of those. That's kind of a curveball to throw in right before you do a giant rebalance, but I'll give you kudos for now, with the understanding that, not that you care, but in the next half year when you do this massive rebalance, I may have a different opinion. Addition of new options and content, new functions, battle modes, maps. I think they're always trying. Frontline, I'm kind of lukewarm to. I've talked about this in the past. I don't care about you throwing out a billion new battle modes. I don't give two craps about new battle modes. I want you to work on the pub match and the ones that we have. So that's just me, though. I know a lot of other people love new battle modes, the racing games, and all that stuff. Maybe a separate question there is, how interested are you in some of these things? You know, that would be sub questions of this. You know, how are you satisfied with it? How are you satisfied with this, and this? You know, break it down. But there you go. They've dumped a lot of crap into one question. I will give them kudos. In general, I think they're going in the right direction with that. Quality of the released updates, absence of bugs. I don't have any problems with those. I mean, I almost never have problems with their updates. That has not been an issue that I've seen with this company too badly, and that's just my personal experience with my various rigs I've played the game on. How would you rate World of Tanks with the following characteristics associated with your experience of interacting with other players? Players' behavior and random bet. You know what? I'm giving this a 10. You know why? Not because there aren't trolls and idiots, but they're so few and far between. I simply don't care if a guy's pinging the map. I do not care if he has a naughty potty mouth. I actually can ignore them because I'm an adult. I don't get triggered, much. You know, the only time I get triggered is if they follow me back to garage and they give me a little PM down there, you know, down like this. But if they do that, they get full blast, right? If they come in and start calling me a Latin all-star, which cracked me up the time that guy did that, they're getting the full Monty, right? They came to me, they called me, I didn't call them. They're getting full blast. But as far as satisfied, and because what they're going to use this questionnaire for is to start coming down on certain things like all chat and all those kinds of XVM and things like that. So I'm fine with it. Don't get in there and start censoring everything, right? It's their right. It's a private company. I got it. I'm not talking freedom of speech. I'm just talking about options for adults to play a game and chat and things like that. I think the subject of that gets me triggered more than the actual thing of people being toxic. You've heard my spiel on toxic. All right. Player skill level and random battles. Who cares? This one kills me. This one absolutely kills me. And they're asking about it because for some reason, the player base is extremely concerned with how good a player is in various levels and tiers. And I do get irritated if somebody makes a bonehead move or is bad, but it's a pub match and we're all piling in and playing a video game, and I simply do not care. Again, in terms of wargaming doing something. Like, you always have people float this idea that, hey, let's have a minimum bar at which you can have to pass before you can be tier 10. Okay, good. Let's have less people at tier 10. That's a great idea. Great idea. So player skill, whatever. Don't care. All right. Incidents of negative behavior from other players in random battles. Bumping, causing damage. I'm going to say 9 because I do understand that happens. Going back to my earlier discussion of I rarely see it. And I don't care that much, okay? You guys have seen it happen to me on stream. I've been TK'd. Excuse me. That's why I've got the water for today. I've been TK'd. I've been pushed. The whole 9 yards. All that good stuff. And it's irritating at the time. But as far as going off the deep end and getting crazy and worried about it, I just don't worry about it. I'm going to give it a 9. Because, yes, I'm going to understand that it happens. But I don't care. Let me just backtrack slightly on that, because obvious crazy stuff like death threats and weird kind of what's the word I'm looking for, things that are outliers, like really crazy behavior. Yes, let's obviously have a system by which we take care of that. So let me just cover that piece of it. All right, incidences of positive behavior from other players in random battles, helping allies. Yeah, well, I see that. I mean, I'm going to give it an 8. I don't see it a lot, but yeah, it happens. Ability to play with equally skilled players in my team clan. Yeah. What? Find a clan, man, and see if they'll take you, and then play. I don't... Yes. I'm extremely satisfied with my ability to join a clan that will take me if they like me. Okay, cool. I'm very angry that the clans won't take me because I'm really good, but my stats are bad. What is going on with that question? Ability to play with friends and acquaintances in platoon. Yeah, man. What's house? Yeah, 3 players you play. You have the ability. I don't understand what that's all about either. Holy. All right, on to the next. These are good. These are pretty good. All right. Loading content. How would you rate World of Tanks by the following characteristics? Available to vehicles, premium count, and other options that can be purchased with real money. What? What does that mean? Availability. As in, are they cheap enough and available to me? As in, it's easy to click on your website and do it? As in, there's enough of them and enough options? What does that mean? I don't understand the question. Availability of vehicles, premium account, and other options. I like the other options. The other options that can be purchased with real. Brothers, I'm giving you hard to say. I do not know what you want. Again, it's not the what you want, but I don't understand the question. What? All right. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? All right. Vehicle profitability in random battles. Okay, that's specific, right? Vehicle profitability in random battles. Unfortunately, it's not broken out by tech tree vehicles and premium vehicles, nor does it talk about whether you have premium or don't have premium, nor does it talk about whether you're running a reserve and a clan reserve and multiple other things. So vehicle profitability in random battles means a lot of different things, and so it's, again, hard to say. I'm going to give it a 7. I don't. What use is that question? Without actually breaking it down like that, what actual use is that question? Because, well, I'll tell you what the use is, and this is why I'm doing this and doing a video on it, because one of the things that just drives me absolutely batshit crazy is they're going to take this thing, this survey, I had to look at it to see the word, early onset Alzheimer's once again. They're going to take this survey and they're going to crunch these numbers and they're going to make decisions on it, and then they're going to reference back to the survey and they're going to tell us all that players said blah. And they took it from this kind of survey. All right. Time required to research a vehicle branch up to tier 10. That is a specific question. That one is valid and easy to answer. Time required. I like it. I don't care that it takes a long time. I'm going to give it a 10 because that's what the game is about. Right? That's what the game is about. And they recently, referencing back one of their changes, they added these blueprints, which is going to help speed through some of the lines. Now, right now, I don't know if you're going to get enough blueprints to matter. Time will tell. We'll have to see how that mechanic goes, and hopefully they can tweak it, move it around, and make it work. But that is one place where they've looked at it and gone, all right, we have a lot of lines, a lot more than we did 4 or 5 years ago. So if you're just starting the game, you're looking at, that's a daunting task. So let's add a little mechanic on top. Now that we have all this content, if we do speed up through the grind a little bit, it won't matter as much because there's so many lines to go through, as opposed to say they did that 3 or 4 years ago when there were many fewer lines. So I can answer that, and I personally like it. All right. Cost of a premium account. There you go. That's a specific question. Although it doesn't really say in gold or money, although they tend to be about equivalent. If you buy the gold and then exchange the gold for money, they're somewhat similar, except that at some points you can get discounts on gold, which will turn your premium account into less. To be quite honest, I'm not even certain you can get a premium account with gold anymore, can you? Let's look at this. Even as we're doing it. Yeah, there you go. You can still do it for gold. All right. So yes, you can get a de facto discount on your premium days by getting a big discount on gold. Although I guess also too, premium accounts that you buy at 360 days and 180 days are discounted as well for money. So you'd have to do the math. I'm not sure. All right. But anyway, I am actually going to give this about a 6 because I think it's too expensive. I think they'd sell a lot more, especially premium tanks, if they reduce the price point. I don't understand why it's so high in this game. It's really interesting to me. I think if they halved everything, if they have the cost of nearly everything, minus maybe not down to the lower tanks where they're fairly cheap at $5. If your standard premium tier 8 costs around 25 to 30, or maybe 20 to 25, I think you'd sell 3 times as many easily. But that's just me. I'm not their monetization guy. All right, what's next here? How would you rate the actions of the World of Tanks developers by, oh boy, oh, danger, danger. This is where my community contributor status ends. Informing players about plans for changes to the game. I'm going to give that a 7 for effort in a lot of cases. Although sometimes it's a little hit and miss. Sometimes it's a little late. Sometimes it's hard to find. But it's a big game. And there is a website, and while you might have to dig around on that website sometimes to find things, they do tend to put it there, even if it's not necessarily as user friendly or obvious as you might want. But I will give them a 7. I'm going to knock them a few points here because the long term plan is rarely ever known or talked about. And what is even less talked about is what their intentions are when they come up with the changes. As in, what exactly are they trying to fix and do? That seems to be lacking a lot of times. But I'll give it a 7, mostly on effort. Promptly solving problems faced by players. I'm giving you a 4 on that. I'm sorry, I got to ding you down to a 4 on that because there are so many things that you've left for so long. Some things you're relatively prompt on, but yeah, that's going to have to be a 4. Introducing promised changes to the game. I'm going to say, I'm going to give them a 7 again. I might have gone a little bit higher because they're kind of getting there. But there are some promised changes that never showed up and things that didn't happen or happened not quite as good as they should have. So that's going with a 7. Focus on players' opinion when introducing changes to the game. Man, we can go round and round on this one, whether the player's opinion matters, whether good players' opinion should be taken with more weight than bad players, whether you should listen to the majority of your players, which tend to be average, more than you listen to your good players. This one can go on and on. So focus on players' opinion when introducing changes to the game. I don't even know if it matters. And I suppose if you look at the question one way, you'd say, well, you might say, I feel like the developers in wargaming don't really listen to the players, but I feel that's a good thing, so I'm going to call myself extremely satisfied with them not listening to the players. Whereas somebody else might answer the question with, they never listen to the players. I am extremely dissatisfied. See how that works? One guy's satisfied with you not listening. The other one is dissatisfied with you not listening. You're not getting really great data out of a question like this. Me personally, 7. I'm kind of in the middle there. I think you should listen to your good players that know what the meta is and how it's affecting your game overall. But you do need to make sure you support your average players as well so they're enjoying the game and having fun. I'm going to give it a 7. Again, that could go both ways. It's an unfortunate question. How likely are you to recommend World of Tanks to your friends and acquaintances who don't play? Definitely recommend it. Absolutely. I'm gonna give this an 8, but I'm gonna qualify that because there are people I know who won't like it, or at least I feel like that's not their genre of game. So I wouldn't necessarily just come out and recommend it to them. But so maybe I should just answer it in the case of people I think might like. Again, it's hard, right? The question is very open-ended. Okay, we'll go back to a 9. I like the game. I'll definitely recommend it. Obviously, there's certain people I know I'm not going to recommend it to. My daughter is probably not going to like it. There you go. No, not necessary to recommend it to her. All right. How likely are you to play in the future? Well, this is ridiculous, obviously. I don't know. That's about the easiest question I've had. Acquaintances, friends, or relatives play World of Tanks. Yes, they do. What is that? 1, 10, 50? Yes, they do. Do you discuss World of Tanks achievements with your acquaintances, friends? Heck yeah, my wife loves it. She's so proud of my Radley Walters medals. I printed out some paper versions and I wear them. I have a little uniform that I put on and I got all my medals. Yes, the couple friends I have that are live friends that live here near me, I talk about World of Tanks. One in particular quite a bit because he plays a bit. The other one on occasion. So, yes, I do so. Who do not. No, I really wouldn't have a reason to talk with people who don't play World of Tanks about my victories, awards, interesting battles. Now, if you consider I'm a YouTuber, then I clearly discuss this with lots of people. All right. I told you this was going to be entertaining. Oh, here we go. They always ask this. Every survey, they ask you how old are you. I'm waiting for the one that says, "What are you wearing right now?" All right, I'm going to be honest. I am 51. Yes, 51, right. 52 this year. Here we go. Submit. Is that it? That's usually the last question. Should say thank you. Thank you. There you go. Thank you. Alrighty. Well, that was interesting, wasn't it? Let's move on to the medium. Buff, change, rebalance, and it's only a few tier 10s. Okay, here it is, and we're starting with the STB. So as usual, there's great verbiage involved here. I always like these. It's a versatile, fast accelerating vehicle with a well-sloped turret and good gun depression angles. Is it just good gun depression? Anyway, this vehicle is ideal. Does it have different angles off different sides? Maybe that's it. The vehicle is ideal for mid to close range combat, and it's designed to constantly deal damage. Commonly plays the role of an active aggressor on the front line or of an effective support vehicle. The latter is how this vehicle was initially conceived. I like that. I always complain about how the devs don't talk about what their little ideas are. Maybe that's them right there. We wanted this to be conceived as a effective support vehicle. All right, fair enough. Its DPM is very impressive and is one of the best in World of Tanks. Yeah, it is. It's up there at 2,900. It's pretty good. While its gun stabilization leaves much to be desired. It means its gun is derpy, and it always has been, so it's been kind of a knock on this tank. It's supposed to be a mid-range kind of fire support tank, but it has a hard time putting the rounds where you want it at times. Time to make it more competitive. All right, so what have they done? Traverse speed, gun reload sped up from 8 to 7.3. DPM up by 33, that's not much. Why? You might go, wow, they've really increased the reload time or decreased the reload time, but how come it's only 33 on the average DPM? Well, that's because they dropped the alpha from, looks like 390 down to 360. So you end up with a net gain of 33 hit points a minute on what was arguably already a good DPM. Damage was dropped from damage per shell. Oh, that's HE. All right, so that's AP. HE shell is also dropped. Dispersion is a little bit better on whole traverse and movement. Dispersion at 100 is up by 0.01. Okay. Aiming time is down to 2 seconds. That's going to help with its accuracy. All right. And hit points at up from 1950 to 2000. This was interesting here for me. Reverse speed is faster by 5. That's going to let it poke out, shoot, and get back. That is helpful for a medium who's doing ridge brawling kind of stuff, or ridge sniping kind of thing. But the engine power was increased by 200 horsepower. I'm thinking, wow, it's going to be faster, right? And that makes the specific power higher. Yes, all right, by 4.2 hit points. That's a lot, actually. No kidding. And so its speed is less. So it's slower. Well, its specific power went up, but its speed is slower. It doesn't say anything about any extra armor or anything, but in general, if I have more specific power and more horsepower, I should be faster, although there could be a top-end limiter thing going on. But it looks like for balance purposes, they dropped it down to 48, which I don't really understand why that needed to be done. And view range was dropped. That's painful, but hey, you know what? Maybe that's them talking about or working on the whole rebalance of light tanks, so tier 10 mediums aren't better than them in nearly every way except for moving camo and size. All right, so there you go. Also, interestingly, it's going to get a hydropneumatic suspension, potentially, if the Swedish mediums work out. So we haven't seen those yet. We don't know how they're going to affect the game. They're planning on giving the STB1 that kind of suspension, and it did historically have it. So that's cool. And guess what? They also mentioned the STA1 and STA2 are going to get some buffs as well. Those both need some love at tier 8. So while I said this was tier 10, there's a couple tier 8s mentioned in here as well. And I don't know if that means when they do these tanks on the, I think it's the patch after 1.5. It may actually be 1.5. Where does it say here? Anyway, I think it's after. Don't quote me. It may be 1.5, but I think it's the one after. All right. Leopard 1, that's one that's been needing a bonus for a long time, or a buff for a long time. It is a long-distance sniper. We consider the Leopard 1 a long-distance sniper. Well, that's because that's all it could do without getting completely wrecked. Fast and maneuverable. Okay, fair enough, it is. Increase the alpha from 390 to 420. That is interesting. All right, so it's going to hit a bit harder. As well as its penetration will also change the type of standard shells. I did not mention it, but I think the penetration... Nope, they didn't change the penetration. I could have swore... Doesn't look like... All right, never mind. Doesn't look like they messed with the penetration stats on the STB1. So back up here, they're going to change penetration. Change the type of standard shells. By default, it will fire armor-piercing shells, and their velocity will become one of the highest. I don't know what its default currently is. Is it APCR? I'm not sure why that's going to matter, but they're going to change it. And they're going to increase its speed to 70 kilometers an hour. So that thing is going to move out as a medium right there. Fastest tier 10 medium in the game. All right. They're reducing the reverse speed, reducing the reverse speed by 3, so down to 20. Hit pull by 100 down to 1850, and power to weight ratio. So here's all the bonuses and pluses. Traverse is going to go down. The DPM goes up by not much, 20 hit points. That's negligible. Penetration is going up to 278. That's pretty good for a standard round for sure. Shell velocity is going down, and the special shell velocity is going up by a lot, 440. So maybe it was a heat round. Was the heat round the standard on that? Those are generally slower, so I'm not sure. Damage is going up to 420. HE is going up to 510. The rate of fire is down slightly. The dispersion is getting better in every way, as well as the aim time down to 1.7. That's pretty good, with a much better dispersion down to 0.29. Well, not much better, but better dispersion down to 0.29. So it should be able to use that sniper gun to more effect now. Hit points down, like I mentioned. Top speed is up. What you don't see here, did they mention it? Effectively, things increase accuracy, decrease. So they didn't mention an armor buff. It looks like they're just trying to maximize its long-range sniper capability, vice give it any kind of real ridge fighting capability with a better turret. And the problem with that idea is that's not really how this game is played right now. It's all about hold down and ridge sniping, positions like that. There are a few maps where that will give it a slightly better advantage than it already has. It's already pretty good on things like Malinovka and Proc. If you're in the right spot, you can stand off, you don't get spotted, all that good stuff. But in any place where it has to brawl, has to be hold down or pop out, that kind of thing, it's still going to suffer. Although it's at least his gun will be slightly more accurate for picking off weak spots. That's about the best I can say for that. Panzer 58, let's see. So the characteristics of the Panzer 58 will certainly be changed, but only after rebalancing the entire brand. So they just throw that out, I guess, as an aside. I guess they felt like they had to mention the other tanks because they did at the one above when they talked about the STB1. AMX 30B. This, I want to like this tank. The Tier 9's fantastic at Tier 9. This thing is terrible. So let's see what they're thinking about, because the gun is really wonky. Really wonky. Increased penetration, okay, because it's got one of the lowest as a Tier 10 medium, by the way, for its regular shell. And alpha is going to remain, wait a minute, the alpha damage of the AMX-30B will remain average. Why is that even, they just needed another sentence. Hey, that one sentence looks a little lonely. Let's add another one. Okay, at the same time, the alpha damage will remain average. Thank you. Traverse is up. Penetration up to 264. 16 is quite a boost, actually. It needed it. Special shell up to 330. That should be enough for most things. Again, that doesn't really talk to a global rebalance about armor to premium shells, but all right, we'll just leave that one. I do find it a little bit interesting that they're messing with the premium penetration on this, and then they're going to go through with whatever they're going to do with the premium rebalance, which sounds like right now less damage. It's all very strange to me how they're doing it. Velocity is up by 140. That's it's not a whole bunch. Special shell up a little bit. I think it fires heat, actually. Dispersion at 100 that's quite a change right there. So that has been the knock. That's been the big thing against the 30B. A 0.33 or 0.36 was pretty bad for a Tier 10. Down to 0.33, quite a bit better. That's pretty significant. And we are going to lose some top speed down to 60. That's too bad because it was fun. Nice fast tank. And aim time goes up by 0.1 second. Interesting. 430. Oh boy, here we go. Let's see. When rebalancing the characteristics of the vehicle, we constantly kept in mind it had no distinct play role. Oh, good lord. The MX-30B is a universal second-line support vehicle. Well, you just gave it a role, which can perform equally well in a variety of game situations. What? All right. However, it lacks accuracy and armor penetration. Duh. So we decided to improve it. Okay, there you go. So they covered the things that were the knocks against it. I'll just leave the whole roll thing where it is. I'm done talking about that for the moment. Okay, clearly the 430 and the 430U were overpowered at tier 9 and tier 10. We're going to, let's see. Yeah, we'll just cover it right now because the reasons that they give that they're going to mess with this thing are some of the, goes back to the survey they just took and the reasons that the numbers that they look at and how they come up with what needs to be worked on and what doesn't. So they are formidable vehicles that have demonstrated good effectiveness since their introduction in World of Tanks. You think? Is that the understatement of the year? They're good effectiveness. No, they've demonstrated that they're overpowered. What can we just? Is there any way we could just have some plain English or Russian or whatever it is it's written in, and just go, yeah, guys, these things were overperforming, so we had to nerf them. Or, we got to balance our game. Why is that so hard? I don't understand that. I really don't. I do get that it's always about the presentation. It's always about the corporation making sure that they've got the right packaging, the right messaging, all those things. I understand that, but I still can't wrap my mind around why they just can't look at it and say things like, it was overpowered at tier, so we fixed it. No, it's got to be, they demonstrated good effectiveness since their introduction in World of Tanks, so we didn't rush to change their characteristics. And clearly you didn't rush to... You also didn't rush to change the characteristics of the 268 version 4, which was an absolute joke. And that took way too long to sort out. All right. They're also not very... and this is where we get to the numbers they use. This was one of their justifications. This is the public, right? This is what they're telling us. Here's the words. They wrote them, not me. They were also not very common in random battles, and their number didn't affect the game balance. Just think about that. Think about that statement for just a minute. Take it all in, the whole thing. Formidable vehicles, I'll be able to read here in a minute. They demonstrated good effectiveness, read OP, since their introduction in World Tanks. So we didn't rush to change their characteristics. They weren't very common, and their number didn't affect the game. Well, here's the thing. They did affect the games they were in. If you played against them, they were affecting you right there, and they were overpowered. So it makes it sound like the fact that they were overpowered is the reason they didn't do anything about it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's the effective situation. That's what actually happened, in effect, because they didn't touch them. But that whole paragraph is complete bollocks. All right. However, I already talked about it. Wait a minute, they touched it again. Oh, here we go. However, the number of these two tanks has increased in the last 6 months, as well as your feedback. Oh, that is a fantastic sentence. I love that one. As well as your feedback regarding their combat performance. Now, why does my feedback matter? I thought you had all the numbers, right? Right? The numbers are there. We're always touting how we look at the numbers. If you look at the win graphs and stuff on these things, they're ridiculous. But now there's a lot of them, and we're getting some feedback, so I guess we'll do something about them. We decided to reduce some of their excessively high combat parameters. Whew. This is a lot of fun. Look, I'm glad they're getting on it. Let's do it. I just take issue with some of the ways that the things are presented to us as if we are dumb. You know what I mean? All right. Yeah, there's a lot of negatives. These dudes are just getting the Nerf bat. It's straight up getting the Nerf bat. And does it say the 430? That says 430. Oh, there's the 430U. It's a different. There you go. Nerf bat. Whack with the Nerf bat. Whack with the Nerf bat. There's still a lot of work ahead. This is only the second iteration of a large-scale rebalancing we're carrying out this year. In the future, we'll focus on some popular heavy tanks. Now, I thought at one point they said they weren't going to do a rebalance, and that until they could rebalance everything. I wonder if they're walking back from that and now doing it more piecemeal, or if these were just ones that were in the hopper to begin with already, and they finally got to where they wanted to release the changes. I honestly, I don't know. I'm so confused at this point on what the rebalance means and which tanks are going to be rebalanced and when, that I can't even keep it straight myself right now. Wow, yeah. So that was interesting. The survey I thought was interesting. I thought this was an interesting thing that came out. I'll go ahead and drop this this video, well, today as you're watching it, but it'll be tomorrow for me. See the power of editing. It's all that, YouTube stuff, but which I have no idea how to do. But anyway, look, bottom line, I'm glad they're doing something. I could do without some of the BS verbiage. That's my personal opinion of it. Maybe you think differently. If you do, leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear them. And I am out. We'll see you guys later.